We are going to be talking about Bitcoin from the point of view of creating wealth, right? Or financial freedom. Now, we could be talking about Bitcoin from a technical point of view, but today's session is actually about us exploring Bitcoin and its potential to help us to create wealth, right? I'm sure all of us in this call, we're in this call because that's exactly what we want to find out. Is it possible for us to be able to secure our future and our children's future with this thing called Bitcoin? If so, how do we go about doing that? So this particular call is exactly about exploring that. We're going to be looking at a lot of data. We're going to be looking at a lot of what's happening in the world, where Bitcoin has come from, where Bitcoin is, and where Bitcoin is going. And then right at the end, we're going to talk about how then you and I can position ourselves so that we can be able to accumulate these Bitcoins so that as it appreciates in value, we are able to ride the wave, so to speak. Okay. So maybe we can start here, right? This is the biggest problem that a lot of people might not necessarily be intentionally talking about. I'll give an example. So we have this thing called inflation. Okay, inflation is simply the theft of purchasing power. But nobody talks about it in those words. People actually talk about it in the line of things are becoming expensive, right? Somebody will say food is becoming expensive, rent is becoming expensive, property is becoming expensive, everything is becoming expensive, right? But very few people will actually attempt to answer as to why these things are becoming expensive. In fact, we could even be tempted to look at businesses and think that business owners and businesses are actually out to get us and to impoverish us, right? Without necessarily understanding that it's actually the buying power of our money that is going down against those items, okay? Now, this phenomenon has been going on for hundreds of years, okay? It's not going to stop now. The best thing we can do is understand it, understand what causes it, understand how we can actually hedge ourselves against it, because it is not going to change. It's going to continue being like that. And one of the reasons why it's not going to change is that it affects the rich people in a certain way, which is in a good way, but it affects the poor and the middle class in a negative way. But the beauty of the day and age we're living in is that we can actually learn all these tricks that the rich actually use to hedge themselves. And in fact, to become rich over time, even though inflation is eating away at the buying power of their money. How is it that they do so, right? So now, I honestly believe that Bitcoin being created in 2009, I believe that it was created as a solution. Solution for who? As a solution for ordinary people, what other people would actually classify as the middle class as well as the poor. But the unfortunate part is that the people Bitcoin was intended for, they do not yet fully understand Bitcoin, right? And its power. Okay. So as a result, they're not diving in head first because they don't yet fully understand it. But then on the other hand, the people responsible for the graph that you're seeing in front of you now, those were the people that Bitcoin was meant to disrupt. Okay. But then the people that Bitcoin was meant to disrupt are the ones who are finding value and looking at the patterns and understanding what Bitcoin is. And they are now going head first into what was supposed to disrupt them. Okay. So, but I think with this particular and other calls like it, it's going to help us to understand how these things works and how Bitcoin actually helps us to get away from this quagmire that we find ourselves in. So when we talk about inflation, we're talking about loss of buying power. We're talking about the money that you are saving. I actually added this today, if actually 5 minutes ago, okay? So excuse my typo there. So you have your savings actually buying you less and less, over time. So this means that you have less money for retirement. Okay. They statistically speaking, the people who retire, having worked all their lives, they statistically speaking, they live on average 5 years and below. Okay. Why? Because they get a shock of their lives at the retirement that I've worked all my life and I thought I was going to get this much. And then this much gets taxed. This one gets into, I only get the whatever, 2/3, whatever third, and the rest goes and buy me a retirement annuity, of which when I pass away, that retirement annuity, that don't even pass on to my kids. So when people get to realize all of that, they actually find themselves I don't know, having to depart from this world a lot sooner than what they would have actually wanted. Okay, so obviously this means that there is now less money for children's education and everything that is, around that, right? So just as a way of introduction for those of you, my name is Lonabo Fololo. I've been an entrepreneur, maybe half my life. I think half my life. I got into the space of crypto assets, specifically Bitcoin and Bitcoin mining, through network marketing as early as 2016. At the time, I was running my real estate business, and the only reason why I was looking for, I realized that yes, I've been selling properties for 7 years, but I realized that there was something lacking. I was not able to live the life of my dreams because of the vehicle I was actually using. So I sought out to look for a different vehicle, right? And lo and behold, I found this vehicle through Bitcoin mining and network marketing. And I made a decision to close my risk business and to focus on this. And that became a life changer for me and for my family. So today we're going to be talking about and how it can possibly do the same for you if you are able to identify this particular vehicle and you are actually going to be one with it as well. Now, there is this video that I want us to have a look. It's about 4 or 5 minutes long. This video is 10 years old, right? It's over 10 years old. When this video was done, Bitcoin was less than $200 or around $200, okay? And I want you to listen to what these guys were saying back then about the potential of Bitcoin, what it is, and where it's going, right? Price-wise, and the markets it was actually going to disrupt, okay? Now, and then at the end, we're going to dive into the opportunity as to how we can actually participate as well. So let's have a look at this, and then we'll continue.
Bitcoin and things like it is the equivalent of the red pill, okay? We are entering a completely world of uncharted water.
Have you made any investments in Bitcoin?
So, I mean, I own Bitcoin in my hedge fund. I own Bitcoin in my fund. I own Bitcoin in my private account. It is a huge deal. It's a huge deal. Because what you're talking about right now is for the next 5 years, there's unbelievably better store value. It is gold 2.0.
A currency that's really going to work eventually?
Well, I think it is working, and there will be other currencies like it that may be even better. But in the meantime, there's a big industry around Bitcoin, and people have made fortunes out of Bitcoin.
Bitcoin, there is no Bitcoin company. There is no Bitcoin building. There's not even a Bitcoin server anywhere that you could shut down. It is completely distributed. That's what's unique about Bitcoin. It is, for the first time, a way for the two of us to exchange value online without a third-party intermediary. Until the invention of Bitcoin, for you and me to exchange money online, we had to employ a third party, like PayPal, like Visa, like MasterCard, right? And we live in the 21st century. If we want to have a video call to China, we can do that for free. But to send a couple $100, which is essentially just ones and zeros being moved around, costs 5% plus takes over a day.
Bitcoin is exciting because it shows how cheap it can be. Bitcoin is better than currency in that you don't have to be physically in the same place. And of course, for large transactions, currency can get pretty inconvenient.
You'll see Bitcoin trading at 1,000, 2,000, 5,000, 10,000. Rick Falkvinia does an excellent analysis. He predicts that Bitcoin will capture between 1 and 10% of the global Forex market, which implies a price of between $100,000 to $1 million per Bitcoin. Most of the people who are on the sidelines not buying Bitcoin today will start to buy Bitcoin when it gets over 1,000. And then a greater percentage of people will definitely plow into Bitcoin when it starts to get over 10,000.
Still predicting Bitcoin, $10,000 per Bitcoin in 3 years.
He's the CEO of Zappo, which is a Bitcoin wallet and Bitcoin vault.
I think it's mostly a very positive thing. I think we're going to see ups and downs like with any other emerging technology. But I think Bitcoin is here to stay, and it makes sense that it be taxed and treated like any other.
So let's make a bold call here. In 10 years, what do you think Bitcoin will be worth? One Bitcoin.
Between $500,000 and $1 million.
A lot of people are just seeing the importance and how big a market share can Bitcoin realistically take within a foreseeable time frame. When you ask that question, then you come up with a market cap of Bitcoin total, and then you divide that by the Bitcoin circulation by your estimated time, and seeing how Chinese are buying Bitcoin like crazy. I actually had to adjust this number upwards, but then you come up with a number of about $2 to $5 million per Bitcoin.
I suggest that everyone go back to buy one Bitcoin. Not too much, only one is enough. If everyone in this world, people, just to go back by one Bitcoin, the Bitcoin value go to the $1 million. When the Bitcoin have $1 million, all around the world will be crazy, and everyone will be the follow, and other currency just to be be grandson of the Bitcoin. So for me, I think for a lot of people, they don't exactly understand why Bitcoin.
Is Bitcoin the currency of the future, or is it the payment system they're developing?
Bingo, it's the payment system, it's the blockchain encryption, and there are interesting things. I think Bitcoin, or the really blockchain encryption that's behind it, has a greater ability to bring more of the world's population out of poverty than anything we've seen.
If you're new to Bitcoin, take your time to go out there and Google it and learn about it. It truly is one of the most important inventions in the history of humankind, and certainly the most important invention since the internet. Go out there, make a Bitcoin wallet, get involved, start using it, learn about all the positive ways in which this is going to improve the lives of every single person on the planet. Get involved, do it today. It's going to help everybody. Thank you.
All right, so I want you to do me a favor. Please type in the comments what estimated value these guys were saying that you heard. Was it 1,000? Was it 1 million? Just type in the comment section, what value did you hear this guy predict Bitcoin to reach? If you can type in the comment section, let's see if people are paying attention. That will be great. So as we spoke earlier about the fact that, rich people actually do come out unscathed, even though we've got inflation that is basically eating away at the buying power of ordinary people's money, okay? Now, what rich people do is, or smart people do, is that when they earn money, the first thing that they want to look at, they want to put their money where it's actually going to be protected from inflation, right? So the first thing they want is to make sure that they protect the buying power of their money. And then their secondary objection or objective is that they want to make sure that the money actually grows their buying power. So they will look like money markets. They will look at things like equities, bonds, real estate. They'll even put it on cars and other collectibles, some even art. They'll put it on gold, right? So if you look at the total value of this asset that exists today, it's actually over 1 quadrillion, right? That exists right now. If you look at Bitcoin, so Bitcoin is a much newer asset compared to all of these other assets, and it's sitting at a value of just 3 trillion. Now, gold right now is sitting at 21 trillion in valuation, okay? Now, one thing that I'm going to mention, and we're going to talk about this later on, is the fact that we have something called gold ETFs, okay? Now, ETFs is exchange traded funds. This is an instrument that gets created by these financial institutions that basically allows people and other companies to get exposure to different assets without necessarily owning the asset itself. For example, you can find a real estate ETF whereby some people invest in that ETF, and that ETF might own Mall of Africa, it might own Centen, it might own different malls. So you don't directly own the mall, but the ETF gives you exposure to that particular portfolio of real estate. So the same can be said about gold. So instead of people buying the actual gold and custodying the gold and putting it to the vault, they need to hire security and all of that, they just simply buy paper gold or an ETF. Okay, so now when the gold ETF, which was amongst the latest ETF to ever be introduced, it was introduced in the year 2001 or so. All right, now ever since the gold ETF was introduced up until now, the value of gold has gone up by 210,000%. Let me repeat. From the time the gold ETF was introduced, the value of gold, the price of gold has gone up by 210,000%. Now ask yourself this. Bitcoin ETF was introduced last year, February. It is the fastest growing ETFs in the history of ETFs. But Bitcoin has only more than doubled in value, almost 3 times in value ever since then. So ask yourself, in the next 5 years, what do you think is going to happen if gold, being a much more inferior, commodity when compared to Bitcoin, right? Ask yourself, where will Bitcoin then be in the next 5 years, right? So, but we'll talk about this just now. So now, right now, there's about 35 different publicly listed companies that own Bitcoin. Now, they buy Bitcoin and they put it in their balance sheet, not to trade it, but to actually hold it for a long time, because holding it actually helps their balance sheet to look even more healthier. Now, if you look at Wall Street and all other big financial institutions, of which right now they've got a huge appetite for Bitcoin, and the reason they have an appetite for Bitcoin is because of what you're seeing in front of you right now. Now, these companies can either buy bonds, of which they're now giving negative yield, right? You can look at gold, which is only doing 6%, real estate, which is 10%, S&P 500, 14%, Microsoft, about 18%, and then the Magnificent Seven would be your, it will be your Apple, it will be your Nvidia, it will be your Amazon, all those companies, right? They're giving about 28% a year. Now, if you look at Bitcoin, Bitcoin does about 62% a year in terms of its, its returns. So obviously, this is attractive to all of the Wall Street guys and hedge funds and money managers. Why? Because they earn a percentage of the profits on whatever asset that they are holding on behalf of the clients. Okay, so this is why this is now interesting for them. Okay, so over the last year alone, they invested over $100 billion into Bitcoin. All right, this year they've obviously upped the ante, and it's only going to get higher and higher as we go into the next coming years, right? Now, why is that significant? Why is it important for us to understand that institutions are investing in Bitcoins, governments are wanting to hold Bitcoins, and actually, as from this year, even reserve banks will be able to hold Bitcoin, right? In their reserves. Why is this important? Here is the number. The number is 21 million. This is why this is important. If you look at gold, when there is a demand for gold, people can go and discover new gold deposits. They can put more machinery on existing gold mines and try to get more gold out of the ground to meet the demand. Same can be said about real estate. But when it comes to Bitcoin, when there is a growing demand, there is nothing anyone can do to grow the supply of Bitcoin. There's only going to be 21 million Bitcoin, and that number is fixed. In terms of how many Bitcoins are generated every single day, there's only 450 Bitcoins currently that's being generated daily. And there is nothing there's nothing anyone can do, to actually grow that. All right. So these companies are actually busy eating up all the excess supply of Bitcoin, excess in the sense that those people that want to sell, and then there's people who will never sell Bitcoin no matter what the price is. Okay. Now, what are some of the companies right now that are currently holding Bitcoin? Some of them are actually in the Bitcoin space. You'll find some that are miners. You'll find some that are wallets. You'll find some that are in the technology space. You'll find some that are in the crypto space, like your Coinbase and others. And strangely enough, you'll find companies that are in the media space, right? You find companies in the energy space, in the healthcare space, in the auto space. In fact, all of Elon Musk's companies actually own Bitcoins. Whether you're talking about Tesla, you're talking about SpaceX, they all own Bitcoins in their balance sheet. Okay. Now, even companies in the education space like Harvard started investing. They bought Bitcoins worth 117 million last week, right? So now, but then if you look at other big holders like MicroStrategy started accumulating Bitcoin as early as 5 years ago, but right now they own over 628,000 Bitcoins. So they are followed by Marathon, Digital, and so many others, right? Even BlackRock, I think they own over 600,000 Bitcoins as well. Now, it's only the beginning, good people, right? These companies are going to accumulate as much Bitcoin as they can. Right now, BlackRock, not only are they buying Bitcoins in circulation, they are actually even buying up small mining companies, right? Quietly so, because they know, there is something that is called the supply shock that is coming, whereby you won't be able to find Bitcoins on the exchanges because of the demand that is there and the Bitcoins that are in circulation. Okay, now they are preparing themselves because soon and very soon, the only way you're going to be able to get your hands on Bitcoin is only going to be through mining. Okay, because if you look at the charts, the number of Bitcoin that are available either on exchanges as well as OTC desk has been going down drastically over the years. Okay, more so last year. Now, for those of you maybe coming to this call for the first time, still wanting to understand what Bitcoin is. Now, the best way to explain what Bitcoin is to explain it this way. So Bitcoin is a currency, okay? Meaning I can use it as a medium of exchange. I can use it to buy goods and services. The very first car dealership to accept Bitcoin as a form of payment was a Lamborghini car dealership back in USA, in Florida, back in 2013. 2017, there was a developer in Dubai who only accepted Bitcoin as a form of payment for his development. So you can imagine what was the price of Bitcoin back then, what is the price of Bitcoin right now. That guy has made more money than on the profits of actually the development itself. All right. So it is a medium of exchange. It is money. I can use it to pay for goods and services. All right. But the rand, the dollar, the British pound, they can all do the same. But what makes it different is that one, Bitcoin is not owned or controlled by any government. Okay, it's not owned or controlled by any state. Okay, it's the first ever borderless currency where there is no CEO, there is no director, there's no governor. It's what Robert Kiyosaki calls money by the people for the people. Okay. Now, the second thing about Bitcoin, which we cannot say about any other currency, is that it is also a commodity at the same time. What does that mean? Because Bitcoin is limited in supply and it's got a growing demand, it is able to not only preserve buying power, but to actually grow buying power over time. Okay, the only thing closest to this is actually gold, right? Because gold is good at preserving buying power, but not necessarily growing buying power. Okay, but it preserves buying power, right? But Bitcoin actually does both, right? And Bitcoin is not physical; it is 100% digital. So it's easy to transport it, it's easy to cross border with it, and all of those things, right? It does not need heavy armored vehicles when transporting it, because you can transport it without even anyone knowing that you've got Bitcoins on you, right? So it is a commodity. And then the third thing about it is that Bitcoin, it's a payment system as well. So what does a payment system mean? So if I need to send Bitcoins right now from myself to a second person, I don't need a third party in between me and that person, okay? But in the fiat world, if I'm going to send dollars or rands or so forth, there is forever going to be a third party in between. Whether a bank, whether it's a PayPal, a Western Union, a MoneyGram, a Mukuru, or even if I'm actually giving somebody money who's going to drive and give it to that other person. So there's always going to be a trusted third party in between, whereas with Bitcoin, there is no need for such because it is a peer-to-peer, right? I get your wallet, your Bitcoin wallet address, I send Bitcoins from my wallet to your wallet without any intermediary in between, okay? So this is what makes Bitcoin unique. Now you ask yourself, as one of the latest innovations, as far as in the world of finance, in the world of assets and so forth, right? Bitcoin is one of the newest, right, of all the assets that exist out there. Ask yourself, with time, what happens when 20% of gold, money that's in gold, actually wants to get into Bitcoin? Because of diversification, because of change of guard, because there's a lot of people who are now retiring, they're dying off, they're leaving their wealth to their kids and so forth. And right now, you know, everybody who is under 20, you know, or even maybe even under 40, you know, people are now living in this digital nomad space, right? So they are more likely to actually invest into Bitcoin as opposed to actually buying gold. Okay, so this then remains a very interesting phenomenon, because it means that over time, Bitcoin is going to continue growing. So one person asks, you know, how high can Bitcoin go? Bitcoin has got absolutely no ceiling. So you mean Bitcoin can go to $1 billion? Absolutely, right? And we're going to show you why and how it can actually get to those figures, okay? Now, there is also something very important that has been called the backbone of Bitcoin, and that is a process that we call Bitcoin mining. So when you talk about Bitcoin mining, we're simply talking about a process whereby these highly powered servers are sitting in different parts of the world. They're all connected via the internet, right? So what do these machines or computers do? These machines, they only do one simple task. They verify Bitcoin transactions, they power this network, and they secure this network due to their enormous computing power, all right? Now, on top of this work that these computers do, right, which is verifying transaction, powering the network, as well as securing the network, there is a reward for these computers. It's actually called the block subsidy, okay? So for the work that they do, these computers actually get rewarded with newly generated Bitcoins. This is how Bitcoins come into being, okay? Now, if you look at when Bitcoin started in 2009, there was actually 50 new Bitcoins being generated every single day, right? We had 50 Bitcoins every 10 minutes. And 3.5 years later, this supply of new Bitcoins gets reduced in half. Nobody sits there and blows a whistle and say, okay, guys, now it's time, let's reduce it. It's all in the code of Bitcoin, which is open source. Anybody can read and see where Bitcoin is and where Bitcoin is going. So that is why we know precisely when the next half is going to happen, what will be the block subsidy, and so forth, right? So then this went to 25 new Bitcoins per 10 minutes. Up until 2016, and then it dropped again to 12.5 new Bitcoins per 10 minutes, right? And then 3.5 years later, it went to 6.25 Bitcoins per 10 minutes. And currently where we are mining 3.125 Bitcoins per 10 minutes, which means we are mining 450 Bitcoins every single day today, up until the year 2028. So as you can see, the supply of new Bitcoins is actually busy going down. But what is demand doing on the other hand? So demand is basically doing something like this, okay? Now, what is the price of Bitcoin doing? So obviously the price of Bitcoin follows the supply and demand curve, right? So you can see that the price of Bitcoin is actually busy going up, and more people are demanding this Bitcoin, wanting to hold this Bitcoin that is actually busy reducing its supply into the market, okay? So there is a year that I want us to keep this in mind, right? So this year is actually the year 2028. Why? Because the year 2028 is when we have another Bitcoin halving. Now, historically, every year when we have a Bitcoin halving, the price of Bitcoin goes parabolic. We have what is called a bull run, okay? So 2028 is only 3 years from now, and we're going to have a reduction from 3.125 Bitcoins per 10 minutes to actually 1.56 Bitcoins per 10 minutes, okay? Now, we anticipate that is actually going to be followed by a huge upswing in the price of Bitcoin as per the historic data. If you look at from 2010 up until 2022, you'll see that every 3.5 years we have a Bitcoin halving, and then 6 or 8 months later, the price of Bitcoin goes to the moon. because people realize that actually this Bitcoin is becoming scarcer and scarcer and scarcer over time. So now, what is important here with this chart is that from 2010 up until 2022, the price of Bitcoin has grown from less than 1 cent to the highest of $68,000 in 2021. Okay. Now, the smart people out there who are able to predict stuff using whatever mathematical models, they've looked at this chart, and based on this chart, they actually draw some predictions of what they think Bitcoin is going to do over the years. Okay. Now, they said the minimum price in 2024 should be around $93,000 and the maximum should be around $110,000. But what was the maximum that we actually saw in 2024? It was 108,000, very, very close to the 110,000 mark that these guys actually wrote. And what are they saying for 2025? They say in 2025, we will see a maximum of $158,000. And then by the year 2028, which is my favorite year, is going to be $508,000. Now, I honestly believe that this 508,000 can actually happen sooner than 2028. Why? Because all of these predictions are based on the data that is on the left-hand side. But the data on the left-hand side was purely led by retail investors, meaning people like you and me. Now, what do retail investors do? They come in, they get out, okay? They don't have long-term thinking, okay? Now, that is a key factor that you actually have to think about. But what has happened since the year 2024? Since the year 2024, the Bitcoin ETF was introduced. We have seen a huge appetite from institutional players coming into this space. Now, because institutional players are not going to buy 0.5 Bitcoins or $100 worth of Bitcoins, they are buying billions of dollars worth of Bitcoins, okay? And they are holding these Bitcoins for long term. So that's why I believe that based on the supply and demand dynamics, we could actually see this $500 maybe even much sooner than 2028. But with that being said, even if it only happens in 2028, it is still almost a 5x times the price of Bitcoin from where it is today. It is still an incredible growth. And then if you fast forward to the year 2030, okay, which is what 5 years from now, but they say by 2030 Bitcoin should be $1.1 million per Bitcoin. That implies a price of around 25 million rands for one Bitcoin. Okay. Now, is this possible? 1000%. The owner of Altcoin Trader, Mr. Richard D'Souza, actually said he now feels vindicated. He's always felt that Bitcoin can get to 20 million, but he never felt confident to talk about it because he thought people will think he's crazy. But because of what is happening right now, the data is overwhelmingly in support of a 20 million rand Bitcoin, a 50 million rand Bitcoin, right? So therefore, he feels a lot more confident to say that this is actually going to happen. Excuse me. Now, obviously, nobody can give us an exact date of when it's going to happen, but we can sort of predict as to more or less when it's going to happen because the supply of Bitcoin is constant. It does not change, okay? Now, there's all sorts of predictions about what the price of Bitcoin is going to be. I don't even want to look at what people are saying for the year 2025, okay? Maybe the most interesting one is BlackRock, prediction of $700,000 per Bitcoin. Now, what is interesting? I was saying you don't look at what these people are saying only. You look at what they are doing, okay? If Julian Timmer of Fidelity Invest is saying Bitcoin is going to go to $1 billion by the year 2038, you ask yourself, what are they doing? Are they really accumulating Bitcoin as people who think it can actually get there? So when you do your research, you realize that actually Fidelity is amongst one of the top Bitcoin holders, right? And they have been doing so, for a few years right now, okay? Now, Jack Dorsey, who is the creator of Twitter, who obviously sold it to Elon Musk, what is he doing right now? He's a billionaire, right? He could be sipping pina coladas on the beach and doing absolutely nothing with his life. because he's a multi-billionaire. So this guy is busy working on Bitcoin, whether it's building or designing the next efficient mining machines, or designing Bitcoin mining farms in Kenya, in Ethiopia, South America, in El Salvador. You know, he is doing a lot in the space of Bitcoin, focusing on growing Bitcoin and the ecosystem around Bitcoin. So when he says Bitcoin by 2030 will be $1 million, he's not just saying that because it sounds nice, okay? He is working towards that, right? So, and that is actually very important, that in this day and age, I mean, we've got 4% of the human population that is involved in Bitcoin, but we're seeing a lot more rich people, you know, doing a lot to accumulate Bitcoin. Not only are they accumulating Bitcoin, they're even building infrastructure for Bitcoin, right? You know, doing all sorts of things to make sure that Bitcoin actually does become a success, okay? Now, I was saying to someone today that you know that we are still early for Bitcoin because it's not yet obvious for ordinary people. Okay? Only 4% of the human population is involved in Bitcoin or owns some Bitcoin. The question you should ask yourself, what happens when that 4% turns to 10% of the human population that is involved? What will happen to the price of Bitcoin? Because there's a limited supply. It's not like someone's going to go and get more Bitcoins to actually match the demand. Okay, what happens when that number goes to 20% of the human population? Okay, so it will actually grow over time, right? Just like all other innovations. Now, the question that if we looked at all that data, we sort of like have an idea of where Bitcoin is going. We sort of like have the sense of urgency that, hey, we should actually accumulate Bitcoins, because if Bitcoin today is 2 million rands and they're saying that in the next coming years it's going to go to 20 million rands, that's a 10x from where it is right now. So how do I then accumulate Bitcoin? Now, there's various ways you can accumulate Bitcoins. I want to focus on two today, right? Because those are the two that I'm doing. I did try trading. I lost $48,000 in one day, and I never touched it ever since. But what I know, and I've seen lots of people make a lot of money creating financial freedom. Some have even retired. They're not doing anything right now, okay? Is affiliate marketing with Bitcoin mining, okay? So, and that's what we're going to be talking about today, because we found a company called iMine that helps us to do exactly that, right? So this company decided that it's not going to advertise on radio, television. I mean, when you're watching videos about Bitcoin on YouTube, you normally will see exchanges and different platforms being advertised. You will not find iMine doing such, except maybe iMine members who are creating their own YouTube videos to actually promote Bitcoin and so forth, right? So now, how does iMine then get its customers? It simply relies on the community, but we're going to explain how that works right now. So this is iMine, and that's the CEO, Mr. George Mesquita. You know, he's got a background in IT, in various, you know, different top companies, and, you know, he's been a CEO of iMine from inception up until today, and he has grown the company to be where it is right now. But we're going to look at those figures as to how big the company is, you know, in the moment. Now, so ever since I found iMine, so this is the journey I had to follow to become a part of iMine. So everybody else, you know, today, tomorrow, 5 years from now, 10 years from now, people that want to be part of iMine will have to follow this journey as well. So number one, I had to find somebody who's a member, because iMine, it's a members only club. The only way you can get in is if you find somebody who's a member who then gives you their referral link for you to be able to create an account. If not, you are not able to actually create an account, okay? So I got the link, getting my link, creating my own account, did my own KYC. I then had to make a determination which hash power packages speaks to my needs at the time. Once I've made that and I bought the package, 2 days later, I then started to earn my share of the Bitcoins that are mined, okay? Everybody is going to have to follow this particular route, okay? Now, for my peace of mind, your peace of mind, all of our peace of mind, iMine is licensed in El Salvador. El Salvador is one of the few countries that have actually got a licensing regime for cloud mining. as well as remote mining, remote hosting service. So obviously iMine registered there, and there's also other perks that that's why people like Jack Dorsey and others are actually operating from there. You know, things like 0% corporate tax and all such you know, beautiful things that companies do get access to by simply being licensed in El Salvador. Okay. Now, this you can scan. You can go to the El Salvador website where you can actually download that and more documentation regarding the company. So there is 4 reasons why I mine. These guys are mining with experts. A company called MineBase was built different mining farms all over the world. You know, over the last 9 years, there is 24/7 technical support. There is a growing things together, lens together. You know, in Asia, South America, now Africa as well. And most importantly, the company is always buying the latest innovative equipment to make sure that we remain on the cutting edge of this innovation, as well as remain profitable, okay, and efficient. So the latest machine is called a Bitmain miner T21. It churns out 190 terahashes per second. The efficiency is 36 watts per terawatts, sorry. And it is using the SHA-256 algorithm as well. Now, what iMine has done is that they have taken their service and they've clustered it into these different packages, okay? So they've got packages starting from the nano package, which is worth about $250, all the way to the diamond package of $105,000. Now, let me tell you this because I always find this interesting. Now, when iMine started back in 2022, the package started from $500, okay? And all the way to the gold package of $10,500. Now, 2 kinds of people with 2 different socioeconomic conditions reached out to iMine and made a request, okay? One community said, we need actually a smaller package that gives access to people to be able to get their foot in the door. And, you know, obviously these people might want to become affiliates and then they can grow themselves from there, okay? They find themselves in this situation, but they don't want to stay there. Hence, if we give them a chance with a smaller package, they can grow from there. So that was Africa as well as South America. Okay, the company agreed, and then they added the nano package, all right? And then there were other guys in Asia who were saying, look, our governments are very serious about Bitcoin. Bitcoin is about to become legal tender here. We know that this is the future. Please give us higher packages because we are tired of, you know, collecting small fractions. We want to collect, you know, even bigger fractions of Bitcoins. And the company obliged and added the platinum package for $31,000, the sapphire package for $63,000, as well as the diamond package for $105,000. Okay? So the opportunity then is fair for everyone. Everyone can start wherever. And if they want, they can basically work themselves out depending on what they actually want to do. Okay? Now, what do you get with this package? Let's make an example with $500 hash power package, which is a micro package. So the normal contract is 1,200 days. So you buy a hash power package, right, in today, and then you then start to mine for the next 1,200 days. But then the company decided to run a promotion and they're adding an extra 200 days, which makes it 1,400 days. This is almost 4 years of you mining Bitcoins every single day. Okay, the package is actually 28 terahash, but right now there is a limited time promotion whereby the company actually doubles your hash power after 700 days. Why after 700 days? Simply because Bitcoin mining works on the law of diminishing rewards. Why? If every other miner grows their mining capacity, right, the mining difficulty actually grows. It will mean that if you remain at 28 terahash, over time, you'll find that, yes, the U active value will increase, but the number of Satoshis you are accumulating is actually going to be going down over time, okay? We often say that the person who starts mining today versus the person who is going to be at a much advantage than a person who's going to start mining next year. A person who started mining 3 years ago is at a much higher advantage than a person started to mine today. And I'm going to show you an example of what I'm talking about. Okay. So if ever your intention, at some point you want to grow your terahash, again, it's one of those things, but the sooner you do it, the better. Okay. Because over time, the mining difficulty actually goes up. The hash power, the global hash power actually goes up. Competition is becoming more and more tougher as everybody wants to get a slice of these newly mined Bitcoins. Okay. Now let's have a look at this, which is an example. If you go to the website right now and you click on the gold package and you scroll down, it shows you the real mining rewards over the last 10 days of that particular package. Okay. Now, for this particular package, this would actually be day 1, right? 0.002 Bitcoins per day. Now, a lot of people like to focus on this dollar value, and I understand where they're coming from, but you could miss the boat if only you look at this, and to you, $26 is not attractive. Remember, you're not mining US dollars, you're not mining USDT, you are mining Bitcoins. And what has Bitcoin done over the years? It appreciates its value. Think about it this way. Only 4 years ago, Bitcoin was $16,000. $16,000. Right now, $115,000. Okay? So you have to bear that in mind. Okay? Now, this is a gold package. Let's have a look at this. So this is a mining account. As you can see that these rewards are based on the year 2021. This account was actually worth $3,500, and it was mining around about $42 worth of Bitcoin, which was fantastic. But if you add these mining rewards, right? You add these mining rewards together, it will give you 0.009 Bitcoins a day. Now, back then, $42 was not really something exciting, okay? But if you look at the rand value today of those Bitcoins, they are now worth about 1,894 per day, okay? Now, obviously, back then it was a lot less, right? Probably around 400 or 500 rands at the time. Okay. Now, have a look at this. This is a $10,500 package. What is it doing a day? It's 0.0002. Okay, 0.0002. And what was that package? It was 3,500. And what was it doing? Here, it was actually 9. Do you see what I mean? So with every time that is passing by, mining is actually going to reduce in terms of the number of Bitcoins that you are accumulating. Okay? So what am I saying? What I'm saying is that it is and remains a time-sensitive opportunity. Okay? So now let's have a look at this. So the company has done so far around $160 million in sales. Okay. Now it's impressive for the company that does not use conventional marketing or anything like that. It simply relies on its community enjoying the product and freely sharing with their friends and family members. Okay. Because if you don't share, nothing happens to you. You still continue to earn your mining rewards. Okay. So it's really like a big bet on the company believing on its product, okay, to have actually come this far. Now the more important thing for me is that the company says they want to do $1 billion by the year 2028. Again, 2028 is my favorite year, okay? Now, the company utilizes 35%, am I writing today? Okay. It uses 35% of all the sales volume. It is paid back to affiliates. Remember, we said there's two people. We've got miners and we've got affiliates. Okay. Now, you can obviously be both. Okay. So it's 35% that is being paid. So now, let's look at it this way. when iMine reaches this $1 billion in sales target, okay? Now, what's going to be the commission? It's going to be $350 million. That's going to be paid to ordinary people like you and me. And this is all going to be in Bitcoins because iMine pays in Bitcoins, okay? Now, the challenge I want and I have for all of us here is that what if Africa, by Africa, I mean we originate from here, but we definitely have got teams outside of Africa. But what if we do 10% of this target? Okay. Now, 10% of this target would mean that we're doing 100 million in sales. Okay. And if we reach that, that means we would have been paid $35 million. Okay. In commissions, those of us who are affiliates, right? I don't know about you, but $35 million, you know, being split amongst all of us who are contributing, I think for me, it is a compelling, you know, goal to have, okay? Now, these numbers are obviously from from the 14th of April this year, when we were doing our 3rd year anniversary in Dubai. Now, so far, the company has actually done over 50,000 members, okay? It has sold over 60,000 hash power packages. As you can see that there is more hash power packages than there is people. That means on average, each person buys more than one hash power package, okay? Now, back then, over 36 million was paid into commissions for affiliates. Obviously, this number is now more, and there was over 2.1 million paid to those who actually reach a certain rank, okay? Now, the important thing, again, I want you to bear in mind here is all of that was paid in Bitcoins, right? The dollar value is just for orientation, but everything is Bitcoin in and Bitcoin out. Very important to understand, right? So if you choose to do the affiliate side, your commissions, yes, we measure them in dollars for orientation, but you are not earning dollars, you are earning Bitcoins, right? Very, very important. I often say to people, that's the unfair advantage we have, that we are getting paid in a currency that is appreciating in value, okay? So this was our 3rd anniversary in Dubai. We had about 10 people from Africa. And of course, the goal, guys, let's do 100 people from Africa, you know, next year in April, okay? So as you can see, these are different events. They've now opened a study lab in Korea where people are learning about Bitcoins on a daily basis. So now we get to the second part, which is the affiliate commissions. Okay. Now, again, this is not for everybody. Out of the 50,000 people that are part of iMine, you know, only a small fraction, which is around about 5,000 people, are actually doing what I'm going to show you right now, okay? So don't feel compelled to do it unless you are a person who is ambitious like myself. Then it's something you can look at, okay? Now, there's 3 different ways that we get paid. One of them is called the direct bonus, which is 10% of every person that you refer. So if I refer Zukisani and he buys a package for $250, and then all of a sudden he builds his business, now he wants to buy another package, you know, for $500. So you will then get a referral commission every time they buy an additional package, okay, in the system. And there is no limit to how many people you can refer. You can refer 1, you can refer 10,000. It all depends on you. You will get your just compensation based on the people that you have referred, okay? Now, the second way we get paid is called the binary cycle bonus. This is by far a lot of people's favorite, purely because of the leverage factor that you're going to see as we explain it right now. So how does the binary system work? Everybody that joins the business and buys the hash power package has to be placed on the binary tree, because the business works on 2 different trees. One is the team tree, which we just spoken about, and then the other one is the binary tree. Now, the binary tree happens to have 2 legs. It has the left leg of business and the right leg of business, okay? Now, let's make an example. This is yourself right here. The person who would have referred you is probably going to be somewhere up there, all right? they placed you on the left-hand side because, you know, they wanted you to place you on the left-hand side. Now, what's going to happen is that everybody above you, if they want to place somebody on the left-hand side, they will have to place them under you if you happen to be the last person on the left-hand side, okay? That's what we call a spillover. Now, let's just say in this example, you refer only one person. You put that person on the right-hand side. Let's say you refer two people, in fact, one person on the left and one person on the right, okay? Now, if by the end of the day, your total credits are 24 on the left and 21 on the right, it will mean that you are actually going to get 4 cycles. Why? Because each cycle is 5 credits left and 5 credits right. Okay? So in this case, the system will come, it will minus 20, you'll be left with 1, left with 4 this side, and you will get your 4 cycles. Now, each cycle will be up to $150, right? So that means you're looking at up to $600, right? For those 4 cycles. Now, what happens if the 2 people that you've referred, now this person, on their left, they've got 13 binary points or credits, and they've got 11 binary points on the right-hand side. That means that this who have signed up is actually getting 2 cycles. So it's going to be 2 multiplied by up to $150 per cycle. Okay, that's plus minus $300 worth of Bitcoins. Now, if you have introduced this person, then that kicks in the second way we get paid, which is called the binary matching. So when this person gets 2 times their cycle bonus, the system then recognizes that if it was not for you, this person would not be in the business. So therefore, a match-up bonus is up to $10 times 2. So for each cycle you will get up to $10. So if they've got 8 cycles, you will get $10 times 8. If they got 10 cycles, it's $10 times a 10. Okay? So now these people, let's just say this guy also referred this guy who referred these 2 people, okay? And there is 6 points on the left and 7 points on the right. That means this guy is getting his own $150. Again, because it's part of your tree, again, it's going to be $10 as a matchup bonus times 1. Okay, so you can see these guys, they are still short of credits for them to cycle. Okay, now if this guy also cycles as well, as you can see, it's 5 left and 6 right. That means he's getting his own cycle bonus of $150. Again, it's another $10 for you. Okay, so in other words, the whole crux of the matter, the more people you help in your team to get their own cycle bonus is the more you are also actually going to get compensated. Now, the interesting thing here is that when it comes to the maximum you can earn, right here with the cycle bonus, depending on your rank, you can actually get up to 10 cycles a day. Now, 10 cycles a day, that's up to $1,500 as a maximum, okay, for this particular bonus called the cycle bonus. But when it comes to the matching bonus, the binary matching, there is no limit in terms of how many people can cycle and how much you can make in a day. I actually saw Mr. Park one day earning $49,000 based on the $10 alone. Based on the $10 alone, besides the cycle bonus. Okay, so it can be extremely lucrative as the team actually grows. Okay, now these are the ranks. The first rank is developer. You just need to do $10,000 in sales. This opens up more cycles for you. It means you can now cycle up to 4 times a day. You don't want to find yourself in a position whereby you are getting more cycles, but now they are blocked because you've got a lower rank. Okay, then the next rank is called the team leader rank. Now this rank does not naturally comes with a rank up bonus, just like the developer, but there is a promotion currently whereby the first 100 team leaders, they get a bonus of $250 worth of Bitcoins. Now, this also means you can cycle now up to 6 times instead of 4 times. The next one is manager, which is $250 in sales. You can cycle up to 7 times a day. The standard bonus for this is 1,750, but for the month of August, this is on promotion. You now get 2 times this amount, okay? Meaning you get 3,500. The next rank is senior manager, which is $2 million in sales. You can cycle up to 8 times a day, and you get a bonus of $25,000. The vice president rank is $10 million in sales. You can cycle up to 9 times, and you get $50,000 as a bonus. The highest rank, of which there's only one person currently in the business, Mr. Park, is president. And as president, you can cycle up 10 times a day, and your bonus is $175,000. Okay. So those are the ranks. And some of the people that have recently been crowned in our event in Dubai, who have reached those ranks, senior manager, vice president, and president. Okay. So right now, we are on the 90-day game plan. We are on our week 3, right? So how this works is actually very simple. All we do is, we're showing you how mathematically it's possible for you to earn up to $1 million, 1 million rands worth of Bitcoin in 90 days, okay? A lot of people hear that, and then they open their eyes like this, and they're asking themselves, how is that even possible? So we show you mathematically how it is possible, okay? And then once you mix your belief with your actions, right? And you know what, then this becomes much more easier to do, right? So how it works is very simple. In your week 1, your goal is sell yourself the idea of 1 million rand in 90 days. Okay. Now you would have bought your own package of $500 as an example. Your goal is to find just one person who then joins your team, and now you become a 2-man army. Okay. What does this 2-man army after? It is after helping each other to make $1 million rand in 90 days. This 2-man army, in the second week, all you do is you're finding one person each, and there will be 2 more people in your team. There will be 4 of you at the end of that particular week. Week number 3, the 4 of you are doing one and the same thing. You're finding one person each. At the end of the 3rd week, there will be 8 of you, and you do this repeatedly, right? This means that by the end of the 12 weeks, which is 90 days, you would have only helped 9 people to start their journey of earning in Bitcoins, okay? They would have also helped their 12 people, and their 12 people, and their 12 people. By the end of the day, there will be 4,096 people in your team. If we take only one of the 3 ways we get paid, which is the binary cycle bonus, and instead of us working with the entire 4,096 people, let's make it easy and just say it's 4,000 people. We put 2,000 on the left, 2,000 on the right, okay? Because remember, it's a binary system. If that is the case, how much credit do you need for you to cycle? It's 5, right? So we take 2,000 credits, divide that by 5. That will mean you will actually cycle 400 times. How much is each cycle paying you? It's up to $150, right? That means that you would have earned $60,000 worth of Bitcoins, right? And in that event, let's say you multiply that by the rand-dollar exchange, you're looking at over $1 million rand. Now, don't worry about doing this perfectly. What is important is the effort, because remember, we're only working on one of the 3 ways we get paid, okay? But the others, they still apply. So even if you do, let's say for some reason you fail this, all right? Remember, but let's say you miss the target, you only do 70% of this. Still, that's 700,000, okay? And when you count all other bonuses, the matching bonuses, the direct bonuses, you'll find yourself actually having earned the million or more than the million, okay? So now we do 2 of these 90 days every single year. And I was saying to the other business partner this morning, I was saying that if you do these 90 days, at least maybe 4 or 5 times, and you do them very, very well, there is no reason you will work for fun. You won't work for survival, okay? If you do them extremely well, okay? We've done them before. We've seen lots of people become millionaires. That's why it's called the millionaire maker strategy, because that's the strategy that was used, and so many people became multi-millionaires. Now, as from tomorrow, the tickets for the gala are going live. It's a first come, first serve basis. There's a limited seating. The tickets will be 1,500 rands. The gala dinner is going to be in Sentin, Johannesburg. Guys, you don't want to miss it. This is where leaders are made. This is where fortunes are made, because everybody who goes there comes back a person because of the experience. Right? So, yes, it's going to be fun, but it's going to be super inspirational as well. Okay? So, you don't want to miss it. So, with that being said, that brings us to the end of our session. Now, on the 6th of September, yeah, 6th of September, we have a 30-day celebration here in Johannesburg. The tickets for that event are also gonna be available. Again, you don't want to miss that event either. We're going to be celebrating the first 30 days of our 90-day game plan. You don't want to miss it, right? You don't want to miss it. Again, next year, April, we are taking a huge contingency to Dubai. You want to start making money now so that next year you don't start to look for ways to go to Dubai. Anyway, are there any questions before we call it a day? You can either unmute yourself or you can type it in the comment section if you happen to have a question. If you don't have a question, you can revert back to the person who invited you to the call. They will help you either to get started or any other question that you might have. All right. With that being said, good people, thank you so much. God bless. We are here again tomorrow. Same place, 8 o'clock. Do not come alone, okay? That's the secret of a 90-day game plan. Get as many people as you can, right? I'll tell you one more secret, okay? Do not try to convince them. Don't try to explain what the opportunity is all about. Just simply ask them one question, okay? Do you want to make a lot of money that can change your life? If the answer is yes, come, let's go and learn together on a call tomorrow, 8 o'clock. Don't try to divulge too much information, okay? Let them come tomorrow and and let them come and learn for themselves, okay? And then we'll handle everything after that. So that being said, thank you so much. God bless you and see you tomorrow at 8. Cheers.